Well, Matt, interesting week this week, I think, and just to cap it off, a game against Featherstone at Featherstone, which is never easy when you come to Post Office Road. How did you think the game went today?
I thought the boys acquitted themselves well. Started both halves a little bit slowly, conceded tries in the first few minutes of both halves, I think, but after that went toe to toe with Featherstone for long periods. They've got a real strong starting lineup that they had out, but we weren't daunted or intimidated by that, and we went through our process and played our game, which is what we asked for earlier in the week. And pretty pleased in what the game was, in a stepping stone towards that York game and beyond.
First half playing downhill again, as you say, slow start, but then got back into the game and actually took the lead just before half time, and could have been further ahead if a try from James Duckworth had been given. The scoreline is not that important today. It's nice to have bragging rights and such, but as you say, playing downhill, we did to go toe to toe with Featherstone.
Yeah, we did, and Ducky swears blind that he grounded the ball and it was a fair try, but yeah, he's a winger. He's going to say that. Yeah. When Lee Maple scored, it was a nicely worked try, nicely constructed try. Some good skills in there in the poor conditions that were out there. The ball must have been really slippy, and held our own. As I say, held our own. Really pleased with our big man in the middle a lot of the time. We've got some little details, some little bits and bats to work on defensively with our middles, but overall really pleased with how they did, especially in that period. Obviously it is easier going down that slope when you've got the ball in your hands, but coped really well overall.
Coming uphill, didn't have many opportunities at all really, and again, like so many games when we come here, struggle to get out your own half and really put enough pressure on the Featherstone side to really make it count and try and score points. But again, I've been here when we've had awful worse score lines to that, and it was just some breakaway tries that really put nails in the coffin.
The changes and whatnot that we made to the team, obviously when you get into the second half of these games, you've got a lot of players, and I think that contributes towards a little bit of lack of composure and lack of fluidity and things like that, and that doesn't, obviously playing up this slope here makes it real hard to get out. It's hard enough when you've got your starting lineup out there that you've worked more with all week, but when you start making a lot of changes, we had 2 or 3 trialists in there, it gets a little bit fractured, a little bit broken. It made it really tough to get out of there, and it were people like Matty Taber and Danny Ansell and Jimmy that got us out of there and got us those rare opportunities. But even the amount of pressure that we had to soak up down there, I thought we stood up to that pretty well. There'll be a lot of teams will come here. Yes, the conditions will be better when other teams come here, but teams will come here and get rolled over easily and won't be able to withstand what Featherstone throw at them like we did today.
Fitness-wise, pleased with the players that turned out, because there was a few players that have struggled in pre-season with catch-up from last season and injuries and getting over those, and a first hit out for people like Lee Waterman and such. Pleased with what they've done?
Yeah, they have. There is some players out there who have missed chunks of pre-season through for various reasons, injury, work commitments, illness, things like that. But overall, I think we're getting there. We're getting that. Our big men in the middle did decent minutes. We just came with 4 props, which we lost Matty Carver, which didn't help that. But the intention was with 4 props to give them all some decent game time, so they got some miles in the legs. Lee Waterman were good. Again, he's got a little bit of work to do in terms of his fitness. Maybe drop a bit of weight. But really pleased with how he went about his work, especially defensively. Thought, to say he's admittedly himself, we were struggling fitness-wise. He really put himself about defensively, and I was really pleased with him.
So next week we've got another pre-season game that's been put in against Batley, another slope to contend with, and a scoreline from the last match of last season that wasn't pretty. We just need to compete again and just get some more people on there to get some miles in the legs, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's not worry too much about the game that we played there last year. That would it was a torrid game, wasn't it? We had one idea of how we were going to go about it, and it didn't turn out anything like we wanted it to. But this is a completely different proposition now. They've got new players, we've got new players. I'm hoping that certainly the vast majority of players who haven't started a game yet will start next week against Batley. And then everybody's had a fair crack of the whip. And then going forward towards that Keighley game, then a couple of weeks after that, we can strip the squad down a little bit and probably go with a few less players, looking towards getting ready for that York game in the iPro Cup on the 21st, I believe.
You've not had much time to get your feet under the table as a head coach. What do you see the job is going to be like going forward?
I haven't even found a table to get my feet under. It's obviously this week's been manic, especially since Thursday night. I thought my phone were going to explode on Thursday night. I actually turned it off for an hour because I couldn't get any peace. But the timing ain't great. But at some point, I always envisage having the opportunity to have a head coach's job. Maybe not in these circumstances. And my lack of supposed or perceived lack of experience, I hope, won't be an issue, because everybody has to have the first job at some point. Somebody has to give everybody the first shot. Things aren't going to change drastically, certainly not in terms of how we play and things like that. Baz and I share broadly very similar philosophies on how the game should be played. I will obviously be more comfortable having things slightly different and doing things my way, but in terms of how we play, it'll be not very much different.
Okay, well, best of luck and thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.